Welcome to the Daily Devo. My name is Randy, and today we're talking about living a life of generosity towards the poor. Let's listen to today's verse in Proverbs 19:17. Whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deeds. The theme generosity is repeated throughout the book of Proverbs. In chapter 14, verse 21, it says, "He who is generous to the poor is blessed." In verse 31, it says, "He who is generous to the poor honors God." Generous means to be merciful, compassion, favorable, show an act of kindness, and demonstrate goodwill. The idea of being generous to the poor comes straight from God's heart as he instructs his people how to live in the land they've settled, the promised land. Listen to what God says in Deuteronomy 15, 7 through 8. If among you one of your brothers should become poor, in any of your towns within your land that the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart or shut your hand against your poor brother, but you shall open your hand to him and lend him sufficient for his need, whatever it may be. God is actually advocating generosity and action to help those who are struggling. Poverty today affects millions of people. Those people are real people with faces and stories and hearts and souls. Poverty is soul, dream, and hope crushing. Poverty sometimes can feel claustrophobic, as if there's no way out. You don't live in poverty, you don't thrive, you just survive. In the moment of need in someone's life, we get the opportunity to show them the graciousness and generosity of our God in action. The verse says, whoever is generous, it is a choice on how to live our lives with hands wide open. Deuteronomy 15:11 says this, therefore I command you, you shall open wide your hands to your brother, to the needy, to the poor in the land. The Bible tells us a story of a little boy who was willing to live open-handed in what he possessed. Because of that, God was able to feed 5,000 hungry people. Just think of what is possible when we decide to live open-handed. The verse tells us that when we live in this way, we actually are lending to God. The word lend means acceptance of a loan in return for the debtor's promise to repay. What a concept that when we are generous to the poor, in God, it says we are lending to God a gift that he promises to repay. I heard the story about a church where they would bring their offering or gifts to the front of the church. A little girl came down, pulled the ring off of her finger and placed it in the offering bucket and made her way back up the aisle. After the service, an usher came to find her and brought her to the pastor's study. The pastor said, I saw you did this beautiful thing, but the response of the people has been so generous we're able to have enough to meet the budget. We don't feel right in keeping the treasure ring, so we've decided to give it back to you. To his surprise, the little girl vigorously shook her head and refused. You don't understand, she said. I didn't give my ring to you. I gave it to God. When we are generous to the poor, we're lending to God, and God will pay us back. The promise of reward does not necessarily mean the person will give to the poor will get money back. The reward in the book of Proverbs involves temporal and spiritual blessings. So let us continually live a life of generosity towards all people.